I'm Tammy Jones, and I am the 2014 U.S. Amateur Champion.
I'm Linda Frank, and I'm the 2017 U.S. Amateur Champion.
My name is Dana Aft, and I am the 2013 U.S. Amateur Champion.
My name is Kenneth Brisbane, and I am the 2014 U.S. Amateur Champion! Yes! Yeah, baby!
Welcome back, folks. Jason Bowman, APA here at Strokers in Palm Harbor, Florida, with continuing coverage of this year's U.S. Amateur Championship. 10:30 round about to kick off here this morning. We've got Kraig Ray out of Dunedin, Florida, another local guy, against Terry Edwards of Lincoln, Alabama. This is a race to 7, combination of 8-ball and 9-ball. They're going to play up to 5 games of 8-ball, up to 8 games of 9-ball. This is a double elimination tournament up until the final round, which is an extended race, single elimination, and the winner of the coin toss. Again, we're doing coin toss this year instead of lagging, just to give everybody a little separation. The winner of that chooses either the break or they get to pick the format they start in. So, players look like they're about ready to go. This is Terry Edwards who will have the break. They've chosen to start in the 8-ball set. This is an elimination round. Kraig Ray at the table. Kraig here has been playing pool for 22 years. Started playing with friends when he was younger. Was mentored by his friend Rolando. Rolando, of course, works the pro shop here at Strokers. He also mentioned Donnie Mills, local professional here in the Tampa area. This is Kraig's 4th appearance at the U.S. Amateur Championship, so he and Terry, both guys that have been here before, have a little USAM experience under their belts. And we'll see how that serves them as they try to stave off elimination in this 10:30 a.m. round here at Strokers. yet another match that has started in the 8-ball set. We had a chance to watch Terry yesterday morning. He looked very strong early on. Looks like Kraig dropped his first match of the tournament to Stuart Warnock yesterday, but has gone on to win 2 matches, defeated Donald Williams last night, defeated Jeremy McKinney this morning. Terry, on the other hand, won his first match. Again, that was the match that we saw yesterday on the stream against Jose Del Rio, the owner here of Strokers. But Terry was knocked to the 1-loss side of the bracket by Joshua Watson early last evening. And then picked up a win. Let's see, did he win this morning? I believe so. Picked up a victory over Raymond McBride this morning. So that sets up our showdown here. Terry Edwards and Kraig Ray. Again, this is Terry at the table. No score as of yet in this race to 7. If you're just tuning in, this is the U.S. Amateur Championship happening at Strokers in Palm Harbor, Florida. This event brought to you by the American Pool Players Association. Question about the dates of next year's event, still yet to be determined. You can, however, go to usamateurchampionship.com and sign up for the first preliminary, which is in September. Terry finishes off that rack, takes a 1-0 lead. First round of preliminaries will be held in September. I would say there's a good chance we'll have another window of preliminaries after that, as we did this year. That seemed to be pretty popular, but still trying to determine the dates for next year's event. This will be the only U.S. Amateur Championship played in 2021. Still debating whether or not we will shift this event to the late winter, early spring period, kind of like we are in now, or if it'll move back to November where it was originally held. Some of that depends on our other events as well. They all have to work into the calendar together, so it's not as simple as just moving one or the other. Looks like Terry got that 3-ball in the break in the side. Again, if you're wanting to follow any particular player in this year's event, would encourage you to go to compusport.us. And you can follow along, see how they've fared thus far, see if they're still in, see if they're on the 1-loss side, or the undefeated side. If they're out of the event, how did they finish? Who knocked them out? All your questions and more will be answered at compusport.us. second round of the day here at Strokers. We will have matches late into the evening tonight. Late for some, I suppose, maybe not so much for others. This is Kraig Ray at the table. Kraig, a local guy here out of Dunedin. Very close to our location here at Strokers in Palm Harbor. A combination there for Kraig. Looking to even this match up at 1 game apiece. Dissecting the bracket a little bit here. For those that are curious, defending champion Blake Baker. Again, Blake dropped that first round match against former champ Ernesto Baiawa, Hill nail biter there. Went on to defeat Devin Martin and then beat David Singleton this morning. He's currently playing against James Burcham. Again, Blake is the defending champion. So he's bumped a couple of guys out of the tournament now in that one-loss side of the bracket. Meanwhile, Terry Edwards out of Alabama turns the table over to Kraig Ray. Appreciate all you folks tuning in. Glad you guys are enjoying the stream. Always would encourage you to hit that share button if you would. That's not only good for us, but it's great for these players, the exposure they get. Good for their sponsors. And good for your pool playing friends. What a better way to start a great Saturday than with some high caliber amateur pool playing. My buddy Jeremy Jones will be here a little bit later today. Should be here for the 1:30 round. But until then, it's just you and me and Kara. She just doesn't say much over there. She's working the controls, making sure it all works, while the rest of us just tune in and watch. Unfortunately, I don't have a score on the Baker-Burcham match. I was trying to look out there and see what table they're playing on. Looks like they're not far from me. Blake is preparing to break. Question about amateur status and how all that works. Generally, it's determined on a case-by-case basis. You know, there's no set definition because, you know, there's really no established professional tour. So it is a bit of a gray line sometimes, a gray area, I should say. Typically, though, we look at things like, you know, does this person have a full-time job? Do they make their primary living by playing pool? Players can certainly have sponsors. A lot of times those sponsors are more event-related sponsors, but they can have some sponsors. Now, if sponsors or pool playing is their primary source of revenue, we tend to take a harder look at that, but not quite as simple as most professional sports where there's a pretty distinct line between what is professional and what is not. So winning money in a tournament certainly does not take away your amateur status. Obviously, that's a big part of most pool. APA, of course, paying out more than $2 million on their own in terms of amateur prize payouts. So, but the interesting thing about this event is there is no cash payout. So, you know, a lot of these players are here on their own dime and playing for the prestige of having their name on that U.S. Amateur Championship trophy. There are some nice prizes that go along with winning in addition to that. Of course, moving on to a pro event next year, that kind of thing. Yeah, again, Anthony, I don't know that there's a way we could put in a strict set of guidelines to determine amateur and not. In my opinion, there's very few people in this country that make their living as a professional pool player. But we do periodically have to review some players, see where they're at. I know Brian Parks is always one that players have said, well, how is he an amateur? You know, if he's won the event 5 times, winning this event does not take away your amateur status. It simply means you are the best of the best amateurs. It would be great, though, if one day there was a very distinct line between professionals and amateurs, some type of established professional tour where a certain number of players could derive an income, but haven't seen it yet, unfortunately. But I will say you don't typically see a lot of pros enter an event where there's no prize money. So that helps weed it out a little bit. Dart Balls appreciates me being in his living room. Good to hear from you, Dart. Chomp Chomp. You know what that's about. Meanwhile, here at Strokers, Terry Edwards navigating this table. Somebody talking about Sky Woodward. He did, in fact, play in our APA leagues for a while in the Paducah area. In fact, our director of tournament productions, Bill Tufts, good friend of mine here this weekend, had to have that conversation with him at the time about the fact that he was going to be no longer allowed to play APA, and I think Sky was a little frustrated with that, but a few years later, I think we'd all agree that he certainly is a professional now, having won a couple of MVP awards at the Moscone Cup. Few of the Moscone guys have played APA. Chris Robinson, another member of our leagues, prior to qualifying or being selected for the Moscone Cup. Terry finishes off that rack. Extends his lead in this race to 7. Again, they're going to play 5 games of 8-ball before they switch to the 9-ball set. I think I can only recall about one match that we've done on the stream table where they've opted to start in the 9-ball set. Most have started in the 8-ball set. Most will tell you the reason is they just want to get a chance to hit some balls. Sometimes the caliber of these players, they get in the 9-ball set, they may not get a chance at the table, so more likely in 8-ball to kind of get their feet wet, get comfortable with the table. Saw the 9-ball drop there in that top corner. And another one somewhere along the way there. Terry seems to like playing on this streaming table. He has played quite well in both the matches that we've seen him so far. Jess with some comments about Pro Pool and a Pro Tour. You know, I don't know if it's so much the egos and the separation of entities as much as, you know, most of the big professional sports, they're driven by TV revenue, right? That's the component that really funds them and makes them go round. And obviously spectators are another big aspect of what drives revenue for those programs, and you just don't see either of those in pool too much. You do somewhat for Matchroom, the group that does the Moscone Cup and several of the professional events. You can see what having that Sky Sports TV behind that does. Increases production, increases prize money, good for pool. But as far as a sustainable Pro Tour, tough to find those elements. You know, a lot of people have tried. The WPBA was fairly successful for a while. But for it to be sustainable, it's got to be profitable, I would say, just like any business. So maybe one day somebody will have the formula. Certainly hope so. Brackets can be found at compusport.us. You're wondering where a particular player is in this year's event, whether they're still in the event. Anthony, I agree with you. I'm not a big fan of watching the cornhole, but you know, there's a difference too between getting a televised event on ESPN and a sustainable pro tour. Believe it or not, when the WPBA was on ESPN, they were essentially giving that programming to ESPN. They were producing it themselves at their own cost, and so it wasn't as though ESPN was financially backing that. My guess is it's similar with cornhole when you see that stuff on TV. Don't imagine there's a lot of TV money in that, but hard to say. Like I said, someday hopefully somebody will figure out a good formula. Somebody mentioned the IPT. Pascal mentioned the IPT. I haven't been around during that phase. I can tell you that formula didn't work for very long. I think they got 2 events in and then folded. And for a lot of the folks that knew the behind the scenes there, that was never going to be any type of sustained success. So, of course, the founder of that ultimately went to jail, Kevin Trudeau. I'm sure at some point somebody will write a book on that, or Mr. Trudeau and his business practices. Meanwhile, all Terry Edwards here at Strokers. 4-0 lead, looking very, very strong. This will be the final game of the 8-ball set. Terry got the 3-ball and the 13. Maybe the 15. A little hard with the color of some of these balls. Either way, one of each. Two break-and runs now for Terry. He certainly woke up on the right side of the bed this morning. I know pool players aren't typically early risers, but been a good day so far for him. Ken, we're sorry you're not enjoying the commentary, but you do have the option of using that mute button, and I would encourage you to use it. Pocket set 9 up in the corner. Terry just cruising along here in the 8-ball set. Pockets that 8 in the corner. Extends that lead to 5. Whew. He's going to be tough to catch. They'll pull some balls off the table. Prepare for the 9-ball set here. I'll be honest, I was a little surprised to see Terry on the 1-loss side. Not sure what happened in that match yesterday, but the first match we saw him, he looked very much like this, unstoppable. I know he's one of the great players out of the state of Alabama. A lot of great players. I know we had Richard Andrews here, David Rowell, Robert Hall. A lot of talent in Alabama. Strong break there. New Jersey pool player wants to know about pool rooms in the Fort Pierce area. Hopefully some of our commenters can give him some input on good places to play in that area. Fort Pierce over on the east side of the state of Florida. Used to spend some time over in Vero Beach, not too far from Fort Pierce. Terry cuts that 3 in the corner. If you're just tuning in, if you're just logging on to Facebook and scrolling and finding this match, you're watching live coverage of the U.S. Amateur Championship. This is the Open Division, got underway yesterday morning. So we're in our second day of competition. This event will run through Sunday evening, when we will crown our U.S. Amateur Champion. Could it be one of the 2 players we're seeing here? Certainly Terry Edwards looks like a contender at this point. I know he's on the 1-loss side of the bracket, but he couldn't be playing much better right now, at least. Just running racks. Pockets the 9. He is on the hill. 6-0 lead over Kraig Ray. And you can't really blame Kraig a whole lot. It's just been all Terry here. Hasn't given him much opportunity at the table. And that's the thing about the U.S. Amateur Championship. Sometimes with the caliber of play you see here, you sit down, it could be a while before you get back up. Terry with the break. Again, the winter break format. You can really get on a roll here. Breaks dry there, though, so finally a little window of opportunity for Kraig to hopefully do some damage here. Anthony, I got to agree with you. It is scary that he's on the loser side. There's a couple of world beaters on that side of the bracket. Another one, Blake Baker, the defending champion. Also on that 1-loss side. Josh Watson weighing in. Josh actually sent Terry to the one-loss side of the bracket. A number of the players in this year's event, they like to tune in here on Facebook and watch the competition, whether they're back at the hotel, the Godfrey, which is, if you've never been there, fantastic place right there on the water, on the bay there in Tampa. Well, let's see what Terry wants to do here. I think he might have wanted to bring that cue ball a little further back, but he's still gonna attempt to go off it right into the 9. Can't quite get it. Was trying to end it early. So again, another opportunity for Kraig. Well, when things are not going well, they're not going well. Pockets that 2 in the corner. Scratches in the side. And the last thing you want to do with the way Terry Edwards is playing is give him ball in hand, but that is the situation here. Terry makes the 3-9 combination, and that is that. 7-0 shutout for Terry Edwards over Kraig Ray. Woo! That's an impressive performance right there, folks. So we will definitely keep our eye on Terry Edwards. Kraig Ray, unfortunately, has been eliminated from this year's U.S. Amateur Championship, but congratulations to him on qualifying. And for the rest of you folks, we will be back here in just a few minutes. Our next round, that was a quick one. Next round will be noon, so we're going to take a little break, maybe grab a bite to eat, and we will be back with the 12 o'clock round here on the APA Facebook page. Thank you for tuning in.